Hello and welcome to another chapter. So in this chapter, we're going to create custom permissions in Auth0, and we're going to assign our custom permissions to roles that we created in the previous video. If you're coming to this video for the first time, don't worry. You have time to go back and watch other videos. If you don't want to watch them, still, you will learn something in the videos. Stay tuned and learn more. Let's get back to the Auth0 dashboard and create our custom permissions and assign them to the roles like customer, employee, and admins that we created in the previous video. All right, so let's go back to the dashboard here. And the dashboard, we're gonna have, application. Under application, in fact, you're gonna have APIs. So by default, you will have Auth0 management API whenever you get a tenant. So that's fine. And as you can see here, you will have API audiences, which is like a URL here. So that's an identifier. Well, I already created one permission here. I'm gonna create another one. So you can create as many APIs as you want, and then you can authorize different applications to use your APIs. Let's look at this. I'm gonna create another one, say get a stream API for MJ Coffee. Good. So now the identifier is going to be your API audience. So in fact, the good practice here to define it as a URL. So like, for example, you can say https get a stream dot mjcoffee.app, and well, or you might say this, you might even have a consistent way. You might say like MJ Coffee app / get a stream chat, whatever. So this must be like your identifier. Here is the thing. This URL does not need to work. It's just a good practice to have it this way. So you keep it that way, and then you create, you can have a few things here, like the algorithm here by default is RS20 56 bit. I think that's good enough for me. I'm not gonna just touch anything else. That's going to be for signing the Auth0 private keys. So I'm just gonna create this, and that's good. Once you create this API, so you're gonna go to the setting, and in the setting, you navigate down. You see that the identifier is not modifiable. You cannot update this. So that's going to be the audience parameters, and it's already explaining that to you. You go down, so of course you get the token expiration and things like that. But what is important for me is RBAC, like role-based access control. I want this to be enabled. And this is good because, well, as it says, if this setting is enabled, the policies will be enforced for this API. Role and permission assignment will be evaluated during the login transaction. I'm just gonna enable this. And well, I also want maybe to add this RBAC to like this API to my access token. Why not? I mean, this is good. So I can get access to that immediately. And another thing that it says is allow skip user consent. Consent. So because if this is enabled, then this is going to be like as a first party, flag as a first party. Well, in fact, this is the one that I created, and it's going to be a first party. So I'm just gonna keep that. And also I want to keep it as an offline approach, which is going to go and to be assigned to my refresh token. So this is important to enable because we already implemented refresh token. So we need to make sure that Auth0 allow application to access refresh token for this API. So that's pretty much it. So you're gonna save this, And then the next thing you want to do here is you go to permission tab. You define your list of permission. I mean, this is the way that you can define your permissions. So very nice. Well, the convention is to keep like read and your permission. You define the scope like that. But what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna just do like, for example, delete.user.message. So here is the things: the action, the scope, and like the main action. What I want to do here is gonna be messages under users and the delete action. So I can even describe it here. Like I can mention user can delete message. You add this permission. Nice. You can add more. You can do edit, for example, and you can add many permissions here. So that's a good thing that you can do. And then you can also, like, what I want to do is upload.user. Like, let's say you remember we had an upload button in a stream chat, which we implemented in a couple of videos ago. If you have not watched that, you may watch it again. What we can do, we can create like upload attachments as a permission, like attachments as a permission, and then say, well, user can upload. If someone does not have this permission, well, they cannot upload. They don't see the button. Like we can remove the entire functionality in the application. And let's also have one more permission here, like edit, for example. I want a user to be able to edit messages. User can edit messages. So that's nice. That's very good. So I have a bunch of, you can go ahead and add more and more. And what I want to do right now, so that's good enough. So I already added permissions to this API. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just show you another one that I created. Get a stream permission API. I gave this URL, and that's fine. And then I also gave some permissions, similar ones. And everything here is also enabled as I spoke to you. So this is similar. So maybe I don't need the new one that I created. So I'm just going to go and maybe delete this one to just make it simple. All right. So that needs to go there, and I'm going to delete that. So now what we're going to do, we want to go to users, and we go to, in fact, roles. There is where everything is getting interesting. So now you go to customer, and now you define the permission for this customer. So in fact, the customer is only having an edit permission for editing their messages. Well, I can also come to this API that I created. I see a list of permission. I can say, well, customer can also delete messages. Do I want to give this permission to user or not? That is depending on me. I don't want to actually give this permission to user. I just gonna delete that. So this is very nice because now you have role customer and a bunch of permissions. You give only one permission, and in the application, you will read this permission and you act based on those permissions. And all of the customers, users that get this permission will, this role will get these permissions. So let's go and check out our employee. So I'm just going to go to permission, add permission, and I'm just going to add maybe edit and delete, and not delete, maybe edit and upload. I want my employee to be able to like delete and upload, for example, or maybe edit and upload, and then add the permissions. So this is the way that you can define permissions. That is very nice. Just gonna go add that. So here is the things. And then I have another role, right? I have admin. So then admin, well, is getting all the permissions. So I'm just gonna go there, add, and then go here and then say, well, my admin can do everything. So very nice. So in this case, that's very easy. So, and then in the previous video, we assigned role. So now I have this user, which is going to have this role, and this role is going to populate some permission, which is coming here based on this. You see that is coming from this. Actually, it says assigned from this role, but that's very nice. So if I can remove this, if I remove this, then user does not have anything. I can assign another role. Let's say particularly this user is admin. Then user will get all the permissions. There you go. If I come here and say, no, I don't want admin, then I'll remove, that's it. Pretty much it. Like user does not have permission right now. So you now manage to have custom permissions for roles, and you implemented, in fact, RBAC for your applications. So now what we want to do, one more thing left, is we need to expose the roles and permission for the user and get them from probably ID token and access token. Well, that's the first thing you're getting after login requests, right? So it's a good thing to do, probably. So what I'm going to do, I want to leverage one more time the GitHub action. Sorry, not GitHub action, Auth0 actions. And I'm going to go to flows. What we want to do this time, we want to actually create an action, a custom action. Let's go to library. We're going to create a custom action named revealing roles and permissions. And then when do you want to trigger that? Post login, or like when we are in the process of login, exactly as what we did for get production ready stream token. You have not watched that? Go back to the Auth0 action video and look at the actions. So now I'm going to create this. So let's see what we want to do. This one is fairly similar to the previous one. So in fact, I need to probably copy and paste the entire things. But to just give you an idea of like how we can create another one, this is going to be, again, you need to have a dependency. That's good. The dependency is going to be auth0 and some like version 2.40. This was exactly what we've done in the previous video. So I'm not going to actually waste time here. I will right now go to my library, because we have done this part in the previous video. Please, if you are watching this video for the first time and you don't know how to do this, go back to our previous video and you will see the video that I mentioned how you can create assigning role to your user. So then we created one custom role named assign role. So we, in fact, managed all of these, logic. We had the API, like the construction of the management API, authentication from SDK. You can just copy and paste this part until this part where you get the token. So you come here and you go to your action here, paste it there, and you need to make sure that you also copy these two. That's good. So there you go. So now I have my domain, I have my authorization client, I have my client management. And here in this case, I also need to do one more thing. I read user, update user. I also need to read roles. That's another scope. In the previous video, I showed you how you can create this M2M machine-to-machine application and what are these steps. We're going to skip forward, but the link is here. You can watch the previous video. Now, what do we want to do? We want to assign custom claims. So first thing first. So we're going to get the params. We want to, okay, let's see what we want to do. we want to actually have on management, we have another function named, this is my management, after all of those authentication, get user roles, params. Okay. So then I now have, I need to pass some params here. And what is the params here is ID of the user, which is an object in JavaScript. And you can say event user ID. You have that right now because it's during the login process. You already know that. So you get all the roles for this user. But that's very nice. You have roles, but you also need permissions. What you can do, by the way, I need to make this async. Oh, it's already async. Oh, I just messed up with Dart. It's already async in JavaScript. So what I want to do now, I want to just make this, I want to also get, so this is management. Oh, I am actually out of this scope. Here is where I need to. Okay, there we go. So now I have roles. I need to also get permissions. I'm just gonna copy this here. There is another one here. It says get user permissions, where that is very nice. And you have also permissions right now. So both roles and permissions. You remember how do we assign the custom claims? We did that in a couple of videos before when we issued production ready stream. What we want to do here is the namespace. Well, in fact, the name, I explained in that video that why you need to have a namespace and how it should be looking like a URL like that. So you can say, for example, users MJ Coffee app. That could be your name, like namespace. Then let's see. You can say API. API. What is API? This is the second parameter to the login. To the login one. But here is the thing: if user is it's in the process of, let's say, a login, and somehow they're not authorized. Probably we do not set this claim because there is no roles and permissions, right? So maybe we should do one more thing here, is to say event authorization. Like if it's authorization, then go ahead and assign custom claims to ID token and access token. Then how can we do that? Very simple. So you have API ID token dot set custom claim. There you go. And then, well, the first parameter is going to be your custom claims, a backtick in JavaScript, and then you have namespace, and then / well, roles you mentioned. This is going to be roles, and you will also be able to add that to your, access token. Yeah, access token. So you can do exactly the same thing for permissions. And I will name this permissions. Then you have permissions. That's good. Now I set two more claims. That's good. So I'm just going to deploy this. And then I'm going to go to my flows, go to login. So in fact, now I'm going to have another custom one that is going to be revealing user roles and permissions. Just going to drag this maybe before a get stream token that we've done together. Now we have two custom actions. So this is going to assign the roles there. Okay, that's fine. All right, let's go back now to application and reload and see what we will receive. But before that, I'm just going to go to my auth service, go to parse ID token. When I get the ID token, we add these custom claims, right? We should be able to see that, right? I'm going to just print my ID token here as like the JSON that I have. Sounds good. Now I'm gonna go and refresh and take a look at the debug. There you go. Voila. We have exactly the custom claim that we added here, both roles and permissions. That's good. So, but we're not done yet. One more thing left. What? We need to create roles and permissions and models. Let's do that quickly together. We're gonna go here and create auth maybe zero. Let's call it. I just call it because it's. I'm just gonna be like self-descriptive for these files, and let's have auth0 roles and dot dart. That's fine. Then here is the fact that I'm just gonna create my. Let's actually make this a bit bigger. That's good. So what we're gonna do here? What do we have? First of all, let's define a role enum. We have employee, we have admin, and we have customer. These are the three roles that we have, right? And then we're gonna create our class. Let's call it auth0 role. So you're gonna pass an array of roles because customer might have more than one roles. So you will actually pass a role here, and that's going to be well, let's I will create this, I will fast forward it, and then I'll come back and explain. All right, now I created my auth0 role. This is my role, and then that's gonna have ID, name, and description. And the name are going to be like employee, admin, and customer. That's very good. So we will have this, and then I'm gonna move on to the permission part. So let's also fast forward permission, and I'll come back to you. So it's gonna be similar things. I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the permissions, what I receive, and I try to make a model out of it, whatever I need. So that's simple. I'm just gonna create this model again, fast forward, and I'll come back. All right, now I'm back. So, what I have done so far to give you an update, we fast forwarded so far, but that was very easy. You've seen that the ID token sent me was sent with roles and permission because we exposed it, and then we created, and that was the the key which we defined here for role and permission. And the roles and permission are list of permission and roles for sure. I have received that also in the user information, the exact same thing I added to the model of the auth users, and also created two more models. The permission model, which is looking like this. I defined my permissions here in this case. This is the auth permissions, and nothing very fancy, just using JSON serializable as we did. And this is for rows. And then at the end of the day, I ran the command to generate all the files that I needed. So far, so good. Now, when I go back to my application, and if I go now to let's open up my application. If I refresh, and let's go to the support chat. There you go. Here is the support chat. And then in this support chat, we have user passing down here, right? So this is my current user, which has an ID. So I have a user here, so I can print out my user or the profile, let's say profile. Uh, it's not actually in this. It's actually going to be on, sorry, init, in auth0 as auth service. In init, when we are initializing everything. There you go. So when we set this, so if I go now here, when everything is validated, the profile, if I now print out the profile or ID token, I should be able to see all the permissions and everything that I created. Let's now refresh, go to debug, and after login, there you go. Now I can come back to the function that we are parsing token and profile here. I'm just gonna go and just say, I wanna just see the roles. Say, there you go. There you go. So I can just say ID token dot roles maybe. Well, that's fine. And maybe permissions for users. So then I can have a profile permissions. So that's good. So this is complaining because it's nullable, but I'm pretty sure this is not null because everything is already passed here. That's pretty good. So now I'm gonna go and refresh. And hopefully this time after login, I should be able to see, voila, all the roles and permissions. That is fantastic. All right, perfect. So now we managed to add custom roles and permissions to our users, and also add a custom claims to add it to ID token and user info. Everything is exposed. I received the roles and permissions. We are ready to move on to the next video. If you're watching the series from the beginning, and the next video, we're going to have role-based screens and permission-based features for our users. I'll see you in the next video.